Okay, spent more than intended, right? Got a couple of doggy bones because even the bones I give them, they eat them so fast. Um, I got some mucus relief. I definitely need relief. Okay. Um, I bought a small container for $1.50. It was calling my name. I don't know what I'm gonna put in it, but something's gonna be put in there. Then I seen they had these big containers of sugar-free seltzer water, and I forgot that I came here to get the fucking toilet paper, but I got it. So uh, today is the 15th of January, and wow, kind of seems like time is going by pretty fast. Seems like time is going by pretty fast. Got to be very, very careful about my spending right now. It's crazy. It is crazy that, it's coming down to this. Right? It's coming down to this. I made some more beans last night. Started figuring out that, if you don't let the government blast your food, you better eat that food very quick, right? Never realized that beans had weevils. I knew rice could have weevils, but I never realized that beans can have weevils until I see it with my own eyes. Okay? So, by the time you cook, the food that has weevils, right? You're eating dead carcass, I don't know, extra protein, right? Whatever. All right. So I'm saying that to say that I made me some more beans. I gotta start eating what I have, right? I went into my cabinet in the kitchen, to see what I had to clear out, to put in front the things that I know I need to eat because it's necessary. I was pleased with myself when there was just one can of tomato sauce, and what else? Anyway, there was like two items. Oh yeah, the other item was a box of oatmeal that I let expire without me using it. I hate doing that, but here's the thing, right? Especially when you're buying food right? To make sure that the food that you get is food that you know you can use, right? And you know that has some sustainable lifespan on your shelf, right? Most of the food that I have that you know has a sustainable lifespan on my shelf, I don't really like it. I don't. I just don't. So that's something that you know I'm going to have to you know figure out, right? For instance, there was a time when I used to really like sardines. Now today, I don't really like sardines. You know, it's not something that I'm real anxious to eat anymore. I used to love them, you know, when I was outside of the country. I used to just really love them. But now, not so much. So I guess now that Amazon is in the car business, right? Amazon.com/autos. The government is trying to work with them, you know, to make sure that, you know, people are going to want to buy cars because gasoline is low. Something like that. Yeah. It's still 56 degrees, but I feel hot when I'm in direct sun. I was feeling a little cold in the house. Kind of getting fed up. Getting really fed up about the job, about my employment situation. Right? But, you know, I understand that things need to play out the way it needs to play out. Right? I can make things happen. Right? But I don't want to make things happen and get off my path. I just don't want to do that. I want to stay on my path and make things happen. I was feeling pretty good about myself because I got my pension all set up, you know, to be to commence with all the information. In other words, I asked to have my pension collected, right? And I have like 140 days to go. Something like that. So that felt really good. That felt really good. That was like, you know, that's like the reward that you get, right? And I'll be honest, you know, it's not always easy to you know, to sacrifice, you know, 18, 20, 30 years of your life, however long it takes, for you to achieve the pension status for the employer that you're working for. Yeah. A lot of times it's not easy. You know, there was a lot of hate. There was a lot of hate because when I had went in to work, you know, for AT&T, you know, they had developed a brand new position, and there were people who had been working there that was very angry that they weren't promoted to those positions. But at the time, you know, they needed the extra people that they knew, you know, could handle technology thrown at them, who could multitask, right? And when we were tested on our multitask, that truly was the determining factor as to who got hired into that position, right? Because you'll have a lot of people who will say, you know, oh, you need to focus on one thing, you know, and yet, you know, that has a place and a purpose, right? It does, right? One thing she was saying was, my girl, right, Mia, shout out to Mia, right? She was saying that you know, it's more gratifying if you focus on one thing. And I'm going to be honest, right? I'm the type of person that one thing, multiple things, you know, I'm only going to be so ingratiated, right? There's nothing going to make me be ingratiated, right? Except the desire of that thing, right? It ain't gonna matter whether, you know, I do it concentrating on it and focusing it with all my attention, or whether I'm doing multiple things, because I have tried that. You know, I'm 65 years old. I've tried doing a lot of things, right? And when I focus in on something, right, I don't get satisfaction because I'm like feeling like I've sacrificed a million other things that I could have done because I'm just focusing in on this one thing, right? That's like if you got a project going on and this one thing is consuming your whole environment, right? That's one thing, is consuming the whole environment. Therefore, you have to focus in on this thing and make sure that you finish it, you know, in a timely manner, right? The focus is there. The focus is definitely there, right? But you know, the gratification is not so much that, you know, you got it done, right? The gratification, well, it could be some, you know, anytime you finish anything, it's great, right? But to me, you know, I got two hands, right? I feel like I should be at least working on two things. That's just how I am, you know. and nobody's going to come across and say, no, 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 do this and finish this first. I'm like, you do it your way, I'll do it my way. Because if I'm forced to focus when I don't want to focus, and I can still do the work without focusing, right? Most of the time, I'll focus until I have the plan on how to get it done, right? Until I develop my strategy on how to do it. That's when I focus. Then I might focus the first time implementing the plan, right? But then after that, that's where, I don't know, maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's the boredom. Could be the boredom, right? You talk about, my opposition being bored, right? I'm a Gemini, and Sagittarius is my opposition who gets bored really quick, right? Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe I get bored pretty damn quick, right? So then I have all of these tabs open, right? In my mental, in my mental file cabinet of things to do, projects to finish. And everybody has this, right? Even in marriage, what do we call it? The honey-do list, right? This is where you want your honey to do this, to do this list when he has a chance, when he has free time, when he has, when he wants to think about what can he do, for his honey that will make her happy, that needs to be done, right? A lot of times it's, it's a repair or, a task that she just doesn't like to do. Could be washing the car, changing the oil, right? Stuff like that. That's the honey-do list. When you're by yourself, you're doing everything yourself. And granted, when you share some of the things with someone else, it is nice when they take initiative to make sure that whatever it was that you wanted, you get, right? That's lovely. It's great. So, I disagree. I have focused in on some things, and, when I finished doing them, I was glad it was done, basically so I can get back to being myself, which is doing multiple things at a time, right? I like to multitask. Multitasking to me is not hard work. Multitasking helps the time go by more pleasant, right? That it just is just, you got to love the challenge. If you don't love the challenge, then, no. You're going to be stressed and taxed. Period. Right? And I guess that's the difference between, somebody just needing a toy in the playpen or needing lots of toys in the playpen. Oh, school. Is that a school? So yeah, so what, for me at my age, right, it feels good to just to finish anything. It feels even better, to finish things, like back to back to back. Okay? I mean, real fast, like almost at the same time. If you can finish something at the same time, that's like beautiful to me. It would be like beautiful. That's like, say you have, like a project, where you have people, building a house, right? And you line it up, that to match, the progress of your plumber, your electrician, your permit inspector, all in alignment in such a timely and efficient way that it feels magical. Right? To me, that's magic. To be able to multitask and to get things done. Right? Or, if you're like a content creator and you're going someplace, you're like, great, I will, feel my content, as I go. Whereas there are other people who are like, nope, I got to set this up properly. And I can understand how that's relevant at times, especially because I lost my train of thought because this car was stuck on a hill. One of its tires was just spinning. So, oh yeah, we were on the subject of multitasking, right? And honestly, as a multitasker, right, it's just, you got to get the shit done. That's all there is to it. You just have to get the shit done. At my age, it's just like, you do what needs to be done. It's just got to get done, and you get it done. And there ain't no, there ain't no big to do about getting the shit that needs to be done. Period. It just isn't. Right? I mean, sometimes we can sit up there and say to ourselves that, it would be nice just to have everything handed to us. But I don't think so. Right? I just don't. A lot of times I've seen people who said that, and they were, horrific busybodies and drama starters, So it's 57 degrees out here. It didn't get no warmer. Yesterday I ate beans and rice. It was so good. I do want to have beans at least in one of my meals. Like I said, it helps with the fiber and it helps with the vitamin B's. Yeah. I can't believe we're already halfway through the month. Imagine that, we're already halfway through the first month of the year. It's going by so fast. That's a good thing. Then, I watched D. Munko's brother, David, right, talk to the mother about the news that D had got married in Poland with a civil wedding, right? And here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. He's telling his mother, who is telling him that he needs to slow down with what he's doing, right? And be with one wife, right? And he's like, why should I give up polyamory and be monogamous? And it is almost like, what is that noise? Oh, whew, I thought that was my vehicle. Like, what's rattling and getting ready to fall off my vehicle? That's the construction over there. So, yeah. So D states that, her guy, which is, pretty similar, to her lifestyle and background, except in Poland, right? Village, country type living, right? Which, makes sense, when you think about it, that people, marry because they have, a lifestyle that's in common. The ones who marry that have, really dramatic differences in their lifestyle, and that's like a differences in their values, it's not going to last very long. Now, there are people out there who adapt really well, to different environments, right? They adapt so well that they don't miss, the old lifestyle, right? And usually those are your, multitaskers, right? Because they're not placing all of their feelings, into a particular type of setting, lifestyle, achievement, whatever, right? They're probably, they probably have other areas of more concern. Okay? So now for me, when it comes to like, I'm totally for monogamous, right? Because first of all, I don't like the biocontamination. Second of all, I don't like the fact that, nobody in the family knows their hierarchy, right? Now, let me explain. Let me explain what I'm talking about. I was, a protege of my dad's first family, right? And my father basically took care of me as a single parent with the help of, his girlfriends, his wives, right? However, because of that, right, in a patriarchy society, I received, much favor, from my father's associates and family. Okay? Much. Most people never get to feel their fathers always having to provide for you as a priority. Most people, they don't get to feel that. They just don't. Not even in my family, right? Not even amongst my family members. They will never understand, the bond that happens when, you have to make, somebody a priority with every move that you make. Women, we know this. We do this all the time. We can't get a job. We can't get a home. We can't get anything without first considering our children's welfare, right? We rarely see that happen when it comes to a man, right? Sacrificing whether or not he's going to go out, sacrificing whether or not, he's going to party, drink and get high and play chess, whatever, right? But I seen that happen, with my father. So, and, to actually see it, recognize it, and appreciate it, right? You do appreciate it more if it happens in a situation that seems rare, right? You don't really appreciate it seem like people don't appreciate it if they feel like this is something that you are supposed to do, right? Which is one of the reasons why, guys, take for granted the fact that, they might have a woman that loves them, but they will be like, no, you're supposed to love me. You're supposed to, have children. You're supposed, and they take it for granted because, they use that, entitlement of what you're supposed to do, right? Even my kids, they have done that to me. Your mom, you're supposed to get me water if I ask for it, right? You're supposed to cook. You're supposed to clean, stuff like that, right? And yet, as mothers, we try to teach our kids, to be able-bodied, self-sovereign children with autonomy, being able to take care of themselves, right? But a lot of times, the boys, they will take advantage over the women in the house from day one, from the time they have it, from the time that they're in this, family dynamic of male and female, right? They'll take advantage of their mother. They'll take advantage of their sisters. They'll even take advantage of Nana, grandma, aunties, you name it, right? And as a result of them doing that, right, they're not exercising, their ability to be independent, even though they're highly equipped to be independent, right? They have all of the tools necessary for them to be independent, but they don't utilize them because they're too busy trying to force people to do things for them. So that could be a situation where a man, is just, content and satisfied with the notion of having a woman that he could control. Okay, so he has a woman that he can control, so it gives him great satisfaction that he can control because maybe it's challenging for him to control her. Right? Now, the ones that, don't get off on controlling a woman that's not easily tamed, they may not find somebody that's passive and submissive and does everything that they're told to do. They may not find that to be gratifying, right? So they'll nitpick at other things like, well, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you don't read my mind, you don't cook like my mama, stuff like that, Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. No, this guy's out here begging on crutches. Got fresh jeans on with creases. Out here begging on top of crutches. So, I'm glad I got out today. I had to get out. I had to get some toilet paper. Otherwise, I probably would have just stayed in the house. Because I didn't feel like getting out. I really didn't. I did not feel like getting out. But I'm out, you know. So getting back to what I was talking about. So amongst, you know, the children of the 4 different baby mamas, you know, I've always felt like I was special because I was treated special. Right? And it wasn't necessarily because we seen eye to eye. Because a lot of times we didn't see eye to eye. Right? When I'm in my Gemini phase, my father is a true Pisces, right? Born March 3rd. Right? They you know, they really use a lot of emotional power, you know, to get what they want, right? And you know, my father told me that, you know, I got basically what I got because of my great looks. And I was like, all right, if you say so. But I don't think so. Because to me, you know, when somebody looks good, you know they look good, you know a lot of people like their looks, you know, you get a lot of offerings. You do. You get a lot of offers. Whereas, you know, we live in a world where, you know, they don't necessarily believe that, you know, attractive people can also be intelligent people, right? Because they think the world is given to them, right? That's what I remember hearing, you know, from my father. But, you know, my mother, she gave me more of a political, you know, warning that, you know, as a black woman, as a minority woman, you know, especially a minority woman that is going to be with minority men who practice, because it's usually minority men that practice polygamy. And if they're not practicing polygamy, they might even, well, you know, the white man, he might practice bigotry, right? He might marry more than, you know, more than one wife. And so does the Islams. They marry more than one wife. So, yeah, it was very interesting, you know, topics, you know, that a lot of people was just trying to rush by. They didn't want to deal with these subjects, of polyamory, bigamy, monogamy, right? Even to the point where, you know, relating it to like multitasking versus focusing in on one thing. And yeah, I guess you could say as a multitasker, it's just about impossible to find, you know, a well-rounded person that isn't also a multitasker for myself anyway, right? For myself. Because you want to be able to move, and then you want your partner to also move in sync with you. It's like a dance. Right? But if you're not in sync, right? Then, you know, you're stepping on each other's feet, you know, you don't want to dance, and, you know, it don't look good, don't feel good, you know, it just, you know, you just don't dance anymore. You're living a life without dancing. And true enough, you know, some people, you know, they will dance a whole 2 minutes. Same, however long the song is, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Right? They will dance that whole song, you know, that one dance. And then you'll have others, you know, who will bring in more variety of dance steps. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I guess that's what I can call this video. You know, shout out to Whitney Houston, who sang that song. She want to dance with somebody. I want to dance with somebody. I want to dance. Yeah. With somebody that loves me. Right? But you got some people out here who know how to mimic like crazy, right? You got people like Eddie Murphy, Jim Carrey, you know, they can mimic voices, they can mimic mannerisms, they can mimic you know, they can mimic a whole vibe, right?